Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, March 3rd, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Kim Mo-kyen. Before we get started, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. South Korea reported 444 new COVID-19 cases Wednesday, seeing an uptick into the 400s again. Health authorities are calling for stricter quarantine measures to prevent a fourth wave of spread. Global vaccine sharing facility COVAX says it plans to deliver some 238 million vaccine doses to over 140 countries and territories by March 31st. North Korea will receive around 1.7 million doses of AstraZeneca's vaccines, while South Korea will receive delivery of more than 2.1 million doses of the same vaccine through the end of May. And as 3 civilian protesters were shot by security forces at another violent rally in Myanmar, leaders of ASEAN have condemned the military for its increasing use of violence and urged for a peaceful end to the chaos. We begin with the COVID-19 situation here in South Korea. The country reported 444 new cases of COVID-19 on Wednesday, climbing back above the 400 mark for the first time in 4 days. Of the new cases, 426 were locally transmitted and 18 were from overseas. There were 6 more deaths, raising the death toll to 1,612. South Korea's total number of cases has now surpassed the 90,000 mark. Meanwhile, health authorities have reported that as of midnight Wednesday, a total of 87,428 people have received their first dose of the vaccine. North Korea will receive around 1.7 million doses of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccines by the end of May through the COVAX facility, a global vaccine alliance. As AstraZeneca vaccines require 2 injections, around 852,000 people in the regime are expected to receive vaccinations with this supply. The facility will also deliver more than 2.1 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine and 117,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine to South Korea through the end of May. COVAX plans to deliver some 238 million vaccine doses to over 140 countries and territories by May 31st. Small business owners make up the largest beneficiaries of the 4th round of COVID-19 relief funds in South Korea. Now, this time, the support aims to be broader and deeper. Eligibility is extended to include far more recipients, and the maximum payment has been hiked as well. Our Kim Sang-min helps us look beyond the digits.
The 4th round of COVID-19 relief funds promises broader and deeper support. With this, businesses that suffer from the extended ban on gatherings such as gyms and singing rooms will receive the maximum amount of around $4,500. Those with shorter bans on gatherings, like private academies and winter sports facilities, will receive up to $3,600. And cafes or restaurants that have suffered some gathering restrictions will receive some $2,700. More businesses are eligible for the support, including employers with more than 5 workers, newly opened businesses, and those who run up to 2 businesses. So someone who owns an internet cafe and a singing room could receive a total of $8,900. Businesses with annual revenues of less than $900,000 are eligible for the payments, a huge jump from the previous $360,000 threshold. And some industries that didn't suffer from any gathering restrictions at all could still receive payments. Businesses and industries that saw a more than 20% drop in sales due to the pandemic, such as tourism, can receive up to $1,800 in support. In total, an extra 1.05 million businesses are eligible to receive support, lifting the total to some 3.85 million recipients. For many businesses, though, this support doesn't come close to covering their losses.
It will be nice if it helped, but how helpful would it be at this point? I heard the 4th round is larger, so it could be a little bit more helpful. But still, for those who are hit hardest, it wouldn't be much help.
But for others, it is meaningful regardless of the amount.
I received $1,800 and $2,700 previously, and that actually did help a little in paying the rent. The 4th round will be more helpful financially and psychologically, I guess.
In addition, in this round, the government also aims to cover some of the blind spots from previous rounds, including freelancers and taxi drivers. Those in the lowest income bracket will also receive some living support.
The upcoming round of support, the largest one so far, comes as the vaccine rollout is underway and restrictions are being eased. With the country's efforts to end the pandemic, these funds will hopefully help businesses survive until life gets back to normal. Kim Sung-min, Arirang News.
New satellite imagery suggests North Korea has made attempts to conceal some of its purported military facilities, which U.S. intelligence believes are used as nuclear weapons storage sites. Our Kim Hyo-san has more details.
New satellite images show North Korea has built new structures to conceal a facility believed to be used to store nuclear weapons. This is according to CNN, which disclosed images captured by space company Maxar Technologies in mid-February and were analyzed by experts at the Middlebury Institute. It explained the regime seems to have made attempts to conceal its Yongdeok-dong site. CNN adds that it was carried out over 2020, quoting experts who explained the regime had intended to conceal a pair of underground tunnel entrances that lead to the facility where Washington believes nuclear weapons are stored. Saying the new images reaffirm the belief of many U.S. national security officials and experts that the North continues to actively develop nuclear weapons, CNN reported that the regime is also taking steps to hide the stockpiles it has already produced. On one hand, CNN said Pyongyang's latest move could be aimed at getting the attention of Washington at a time when the Biden administration has not yet publicly revealed its North Korea policy. While that is said to happen in the coming weeks following a thorough review, CNN said the regime's actions add extra urgency. Citing critics, it explained that the longer Washington takes to finalize its policies, the more complicated it will get for the Biden administration to achieve its goal of denuclearizing the Korean peninsula. Kim Hyo-san, Arirang News.
3 civilian protesters were shot by security forces at another violent rally in Myanmar, and they are currently in a critical condition. This comes only 2 days after a deadly protest claimed at least 18 lives. The international community has condemned the military for its increasing use of violence and urged for a peaceful end to the chaos. Our Choi Min-jung reports.
3 people have been severely injured in Myanmar after security forces fired live rounds at anti-coup protesters. Citing medics who witnessed the crackdown on Tuesday, the AFP reported that police and soldiers opened fire on protesters who took to the streets in Kail, a northwestern town in Myanmar. According to a rescue worker at the scene, 3 people are in a critical condition as they were hit with live bullets, and some 20 people were injured. The bloodshed comes only 2 days after the country witnessed its bloodiest day on Sunday, with at least 18 deaths. Tensions between pro-democracy protesters and the military have been escalating since the military took power in a coup and detained the civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi on February 1st. Myanmar's ambassador to the UN called for countries to use, quote, any means necessary to reverse the coup during his speech to the General Assembly last week. Following his remarks, the military are seeking to remove him from his position at the UN to replace him with his deputy ambassador. The ambassador hit back in a letter to the UN and the U.S. State Department, saying the military has no authority to fire him. While the UN is still trying to resolve the matter, the U.S. State Department on Tuesday said it understands he still remains in the position. Meanwhile, Southeast Asian powers met virtually on Tuesday to pressure the junta over its deadly crackdown. The leaders of ASEAN urged for the release of Aung San Suu Kyi and harshly condemned the deadly use of power against peaceful protesters. Last week, Facebook banned Myanmar military and military-controlled media entities from Facebook and Instagram, saying the risks associated with their presence on the platforms are too big. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
The United States has sanctioned senior Russian government officials and Russian entities in response to Moscow's alleged attempt to poison Putin critic Alexei Navalny. This comes after the EU also decided to sanction 4 Russian officials. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
Senior Biden administration officials announced Tuesday that the United States has sanctioned senior Russian government officials as well as Russian entities in response to Moscow's alleged attempt to kill opposition leader Alexei Navalny with a deadly nerve agent. 7 senior Russian officials will face sanctions, while 14 entities associated with Russia's biological and chemical agent production, including 13 commercial parties and a government research institute, were also put on the blacklist. Also on Tuesday, the EU imposed sanctions on 4 senior Russian officials over the jailing of Navalny. The bloc has imposed bans on travel and asset freezes on the head of the investigative committee of the Russian Federation, the Russian Prosecutor General, the head of the National Guard, as well as the head of the Federal Prison Service. The EU added that the 4 officials were sanctioned over their roles in the arbitrary arrest, prosecution, and sentencing of Alexei Navalny, as well as the repression of peaceful protests in connection with his unlawful treatment. Before the U.S. sanctions were announced, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Moscow would respond in kind to any new U.S. sanctions, calling them illegitimate and unilateral.
We have numerously expressed our position in regards to illegitimate, unilateral sanctions that, with or without reason, actually mostly always without reason, are used by colleagues from the United States and those who take an example from them, the European Union. Regarding the answer, we will definitely answer.
The Kremlin denies any role in Navalny's poisoning, claiming there's no proof he was even poisoned. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Despite the pandemic and security fears, the first ever papal visit to Iraq is due to begin on Friday as planned. During the visit, Pope Francis will meet with Iraq's Christian communities as well as top Muslim leaders. His visit marks his first overseas trip in 15 months due to the pandemic. All members of the entourage will be vaccinated before departure. Social distancing and mask wearing will also be required at all events. The Iraqi government has also vowed high security during the 3-day trip to 6 cities. Some of Korea's ancient cultural assets have been given a modern twist through a partnership between the Korea Cultural Heritage Foundation and marketing firm TBWA. Highlighting how these ancient items can transcend time, modern short-form content was developed to introduce a select few of them. Our Kim Bo-kyung has the story.
This 19th century map has been introduced in a 21st century style. The features of the 대동여 지도 map, made by cartographer and geologist Kim Jong-ho in 1861, are presented as if the map is part of an iPad commercial. The dramatic change in the presentation of a piece of cultural heritage comes through cooperation between the Korea Cultural Heritage Foundation and TBWA Korea, the company in charge of domestic commercials for Apple products.
We have seen so many documentaries on our cultural assets and traditions, which I thought were so slow-paced. We wanted to make the stories of cultural assets more simple and direct, so we decided to make a 60-second piece of content.
12 pieces of 1-minute content on Korea's valuable cultural heritage have been made, being released one by one on the K-Heritage TV YouTube channel. In order to get viewers interested when short-form content is flooding the media, the director says he made the content as simple as possible, looking to make a strong impression instead of giving complex explanations.
It is said that all art becomes simple when it reaches the ultimate. In the advertising industry, we said, if you want to give accurate information, go to class. If you want to make an advertisement, give a strong impression. If it is memorable, people will find the rest of the information themselves. I needed to think of one sentence that viewers will remember.
A range of cultural assets, including 첨성대 Observatory and Hwasang Fortress in Suwon, were parts of the project. But the head of the foundation says his favorite is the Sosaewon Garden.
Who could have ever imagined using only the initial consonants to think of words like garden and nature? I believe this is something only Korean advertisements can do.
Perhaps this could be a good time to make content about our cultural heritage and let people know its magnificence, when the world's attention is focused on K-pop, K-beauty, and K-movies.
Through well-made content on Korea's traditional heritage, the creators hope viewers around the world could become interested in Korean culture. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Good
Good morning. Dress accordingly on your way out. Early spring cold is in the air for the first half of the day. Then we can expect milder afternoon temperatures under sunny skies with decent air quality. And highs will be 2 to 4 degrees higher than yesterday, hovering a couple notches above the norms across the country. And Daegu and Busan will get up to 11 degrees Celsius this afternoon. The temperature roller coaster continues from the freezing mark to 16 degrees as for here in Seoul. And central parts of the country will have dry and sunny weather conditions for the next 5 days. But southern regions and Jeju will see rain from tomorrow afternoon. And the further south you are, the more rainfall you're going to receive. Jeju will see rain from tomorrow morning and could see up to 60 millimeters, while the rest of South will see rain from tomorrow afternoon into Friday morning. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
That will do it for us at the hour. We'll be back with more of the day's headlines at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching and goodbye.